What is some dark shit going on around the world right now that the public probably doesn't know about? Note: if you are a journalist or reporter, I am begging you to please report this. There's a major CPAP recall that has affected half of the machines out there, and there's no fix. People are literally dying because of this, and the DOJ needs to step in. Patients don't wear their CPAP mask? They can die. If they do wear it, they are exposed to carcinogens and can lead to cancer. Ventilators affected as well. It's been over a year and Philips only wants to reimburse $50 for the machines. We have patients waiting months for a machine. The sleep world is affected, including our jobs and lawyers. No one is talking about it. The FDA recall is serious. https://www.fda.gov/medical-devices/safety-communications/update certain Philips Respironics ventilators BiPAP machines and CPAP machines recalled due. Most shrimp caught near SE Asia and parts of Africa are caught by literal slaves who are forced onto slave ships or sold by their families into servitude. In a handful of really poor regions around the world, managers of orphanages sometimes tip off the local pimps that a girl is about to age out of the system and end up on the streets. When the managers are actually halfway decent humans, the tip money they get goes to feed the smaller kids. Shitty managers obviously view that money as a side hustle to make having the main job worthwhile. Edit for spelling. 9% of Eritrea's population is slaves. The prevalence of modern-day slavery is way more than people like to talk about. I moved to Sydney 2 weeks ago, and can't believe how many public suicides there are. It's almost every day someone kills themselves from jumping from a building or in front of a train. I catch the train almost every day and it feels like a matter of time before I see one happen myself. We're in a massive mental health crisis right now, and it's extremely hard to get help. The extent of fisheries and ocean life's collapse. Alaska just put the emergency brakes on its entire snow crab fishery as the numbers suddenly fell off a cliff. Same for many salmon species, wild fish, etc. https://www.nationalgeographic.com/animals/article/seafood biodiversity. Plenty of fish in the sea seems like insane that will be true forever, but it won't be. I have seen estimates that there would just be no commercially viable fishing by 2048. We are scraping the bottom of the ocean and emptying it of life. I'm in Mexico right now. Indigenous children are being sold for rape in the state of Guerrero like pieces of meat. Government turns a blind eye and civilians are threatened by the cartel. It's messed up. Mass kidnapping of school children in Nigeria and other African nations, and the only ones talking about it since 2021 is UNICEF. Edit: Next first time a comment broke 1K likes. Thanks for the love. For the record, I'm speaking from an American's perspective who spent the better part of a decade serving in Europe/Asia with the military and can say for certain the only reason I'm aware of it is because of anti-human trafficking awareness the U.S. Air Force talks about constantly. I work directly with NATO and listening to U.S. AFRICOM talk about it daily, and yet you never hear about it in the mainstream American media. The clients of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are still pedophiles, and still free, putting innocent children at risk. 70% of the world's chocolate comes from West Africa. An estimated 1.5 million child slaves are engaged in chocolate production in Ghana and the Ivory Coast alone, not counting Nigeria and Cameroon. In Africa, there is a very real and very extensive slave trade going on right now, to say nothing of the other probably 40 million living in bondage. I think we need a subreddit or news website dedicated to that kind of non-trending and barely known but actually very important news. Is there something like that out there? Thanks for sharing all this, guys. I don't think I'm living past 50 now. In another thread like this, somebody mentioned the random sniper killings actively going on in Louisiana and I think the I-10 freeway. There's somebody out there randomly shooting people on the freeway, and there's a pretty large dead tally. For whatever reason, it's not in the news. That the vast majority of slavery still existing in the world right now is for agricultural purposes. And by slavery, I mean people owned by other people and forced to do work for no pay, as opposed to people doing what they need to do out of necessity and accepting what pittance they receive in return. And the produce is sold on the regular market, meaning that there is a non-zero chance that you have brought vegetables that were grown by literal slaves. Women going missing from Indian reservations across some of the U.S. Many are young women and probably being used for sex trafficking. There are some interesting podcasts on the subject. Behind every polished business facade is a hodgepodge of systems that are hacked together to service you. Data protection is second to revenue. All the networks and system engineers have the power to truly steal all your data. Fast fashion is a human rights and an environmental disaster. There are certain parts of the garment construction process that cannot be mechanized, so humans have to be involved in the production, and the vast majority of them are underpaid. Additionally, fast fashion, especially in women's clothing, isn't made to last, so the fabric and the actual construction is shoddy and the clothes wear out quickly, but fabric recycling is rarely available, so most of those clothes end up in a landfill. Natural fibers release greenhouse gases, ETA. This is an issue in landfills because organic materials decompose in an anaerobic environment in landfills versus an aerobic composting environment, which creates more methane. Source: https://www.agric.wa.gov.au/climate-change/composting avoid methane production %E2% 80% 93 Western Australia, as they decompose, and synthetics release chemicals into the water table. Sex trafficking in Ukraine. How better to disappear young women and children than during wartime? Saudi Arabia sentencing to death people who refuse to move out of their homes so that they can build Neom, their new megacity. And their relatives being sentenced to multiple decades of prison time just for protesting or merely posting their support to the cause on social media. Edit. Link to video. https://youtube.b/rht9air5xrg https://youtube.b/rht9air5xrg. A horrific percentage of the ships sailing around on our oceans are staffed by people who are either outright slaves or working in extreme indentured slavery circumstances. In America, there are corporations such as BlackRock buying up tons of houses, whole neighborhoods really. They're paying higher than asking price, they will then be permanently renting them out, and it will further destroy the middle class/working class. They will make middle class PPL permanent renters. And our politicians on both sides of the aisle are letting this happen because they take money from these corporations. Bacterial resistance to antibiotics is at an alarming level. There has already been instances of pan-antibiotic resistant strains of bacteria. This can throw us back to the pre-antibiotic era, which will effectively mean catch an infection and die. No big pharma wants to invest in antibiotic research because of the huge R&D cost and relatively meager return. Although everyone agrees that we desperately need new antibiotics. The labor used to build the upcoming FIFA World Cup stadiums. Some of you might remember a talk show on YouTube called Speechless. It was hosted by a non-speaking autistic woman by the name of Carly Fleischman, where she would interview celebrities. She used AAC, augmentative and alternative communication, to communicate. Anyways, she had a decently large amount of following from both autistic and non-autistic people. However, in early 2019, she made a post on social media explaining how her dad's boyfriend had been sexually abusing her. She included a picture of the man hugging her while she had an obviously uncomfortable expression. Her dad confronted her on the comments, telling her that she was being too over the top about the situation. Later on, the overall post was taken down and a statement was made saying that her account had been hacked by what was likely an angry former employee of her social media accounts. It also explained that the last post that was legitimately written by her was in 2018. We have not heard anything her social media since then. Many people, myself included, believe that this was a cover-up of some sort and Carly is either still being silenced and abused or missing. I'm surprised not enough people have come forward to really interrogate the situation. No one in her family is saying anything about her whereabouts or how she is doing. When they are asked whenever they make a new post since the incident, they leave the question unanswered. I highly doubt this was some joke that Carly would pull to get attention. It was far from the normal content she would make. I fear that when we do get an update post about her, it would be of her dying. This is the reality for disabled people, especially for those who are high support needs and non-speaking. It even happens to people who have had multiple TV appearances, co-wrote a book, and hosted a talk show interviewing several A-list celebrities. I truly hope Carly earns her justice. Somalia is pretty much gone at this point, facing war and one of its worst famines in ages. It would be a miracle if they make it through. How about state-level law enforcement stealing identifiable property out of evidence control to pay snitches with it? Source: I lost my career over exposing this practice and everyone involved was promoted. The deforestation of Europe. The last protected ancient forests in Europe, mostly in the east, are cut down by big furniture companies from Finland and Austria. The people trying to protect the forests, activists, journalists, park rangers, are being intimidated, beaten and killed, while the police is looking the other way, or sometimes even participating in the abuse. Basically the same thing like in the Amazon basin, but with a lot less visibility. Edit 1, I'm adding a few links. They don't cover everything, but you can get some ideas about what is going on. https://newrepublic.com/article/16535/IKEA Romania illegal logging. https://amp.theguardian.com/environment/2019/mar/04/Europe's forests threatened by biodiversity collapse warn campaigners Poland Vistula. https://amp.theguardian.com/environment/2020/July/01/Europe losing forests to harvesting at alarming rate data suggests. https://www.nytimes.com/interactive/2022/09/07/world/Europe/EU logging wood pellets.html. https://www.google.com/amp/s/amp.theguardian.com/world/2020/jan/08/violence escalates as Romania cracks down on illegal timber trade. Edit 2, thanks for all the votes and the award. I'm happy I have managed to get a few more people to be aware of this issue. Humanity has wiped out 60% of animal populations since 1970. 8,000 women are burned to death every year over dowry disputes in India. This figure does not count women killed by other means or women who survive the burning or women killed for reasons other than dowry disputes. Female infanticide, i.e., the deliberate killing of newborn female children, is still happening in rural India. A full-term newborn baby is buried alive if unfortunate enough to be female. The mother is usually trying to get pregnant right after, until she finally gives birth to the prized male child. France just deployed the Foreign Legion to secure gas fields and process plants in Yemen, in order to reduce their dependence on Russian LNG. Saudi Arabia is involved in a brutally aggressive war against Yemen. It has been called the biggest humanitarian crisis of the decade by some. Western governments are currently supplying Saudi with weapons that are immediately turned on Yemeni civilians. Millions of people are famished. France has just deployed there essentially on the side of Saudi Arabia, literally stealing Yemeni resources despite public outcry in France. Propaganda is being used by several countries. Most of the Western countries people forgets that propaganda can be used in a complex context through mass media. Always think critically and forge your opinions on a subject based on multiple sources and medias around the world. Every day a different person asks a slightly reworded question about what men or women want on Ask Reddit. Human trafficking? You can literally be victim of this while visiting other places or on your vacations. Right now there are thousands of people that are being trafficked as mere objects. Turn back, wary traveler. You have enough going on right now, nothing in this thread is within your span of control, and will only make you sad. Unless you have the money, power, or a workable idea to resolve global issues, there is nothing for you here. That 90+% of the local news you're seeing is basically just the same newscast from Texas to Florida, from Alaska to Washington. They just add in a traffic wreck or 7-Eleven shooting. The people that sit in those chairs are puppets. People are dying BC, they can't afford their overpriced medication. A very easy save, just price gouging and horrible healthcare. The drift toward authoritarian rule and the dissolution of democracy. There's anywhere between 25 to 50 active serial killers, at least at any given point in time in the US alone. Sleep well,